Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the National Intel Report. I am your host, John Stadtmiller. It is Tuesday, folks, and what's Tuesday? Special edition of the National Intel Report on this 20th day of October 2009. And we have Mr. Robert Chapman. Good afternoon, Mr. Chapman.
Well, good afternoon. It's very nice to be here again.
I appreciate your presence, sir. And Mr. Noel, are you there? Is Mr. Noel?
Clunk. Clunk.
I think Robbie fell out of his chair. Hello, Robbie. He went to the bathroom.
Oh, well.
Oh, boy.
No comment.
Hey, I was reading a column on Bloomberg, Bob, and you'll never guess what they said. That, in fact, taking everything into consideration.
No.
There he is.
He sounds like a Plains Indian. He says, ugh.
Ugh.
I don't know. I think I'm here. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. Okay. We've got Robbie Noel here. I was just talking to Bob, Robbie, about the price of gold here and how much this stuff has gone up and, well, the predictions here as to what the gold should be selling for. Now, we've watched commodities go up.
Can't hear anything.
Hardly anything. Hello, Robbie. Are you talking to us? Do me a favor. During the break, let's reconnect Mr. Noel. In the meantime, pull him down. He's in his own little world out there, talking to I don't know whom. At any rate, okay, Bob, back to you. Hey, gold here. Looks like people are confessing that because of inflation and what gold should be selling at right now, Bob, it's your magical between $2,200 and $2,300 an ounce. They're finally admitting it.
Yeah, you're right about that. And we have been talking about $2,300 to $2,500 an ounce. More nearly $2,370, I think the figure is, based upon inflation since 1980, when gold was $850 an ounce. So you can see how the United States government, the Federal Reserve, and other central banks have deliberately and openly suppressed the price. And we can't have governments like that. We can't have governments doing things like that. We can't have a working group in financial markets for the president where he manipulates all the markets in the world anytime he feels like it, which nowadays is 24/7 and has been for the last 15 years. So, yes, the public's learning about it. What's real inflation? $6,700 if you use the 1980 pre-rigged CPI.
Well, there's news out on the CPI. A lot of stuff to cover in the show today. I'm still ferreting out the information, Bob, as we speak. We'll get Mr. Noel up online and active here during the break, and we'll see all of you on the other side. We'll take phone calls immediately at 800-313-9443.
Get ready for Real Talk Radio. You're listening to the National Intel Report with your host, John Stadtmiller.
Story on Bloomberg yesterday. Robbie, I'm sure you caught this one. While gold rose 19% this year to $1,072 an ounce on October 14th, consumer prices almost tripled in the past 3 decades, eroding the metal's value. Bullion hasn't kept pace with the cost of bread, fuel, and medical care. In 1980, gold hit a then record $873 an ounce. And here's the bottom line to this. In today's dollars, that would be $2,287, according to the U.S. Labor Department's inflation calculator.
Yeah, that's the Fed's inflation calculator results as well. So they're operating from the same system.
Well, and gold futures for December delivery closed October 16th at $1,051.50 an ounce on the New York Mercantile Exchange's Comex division. And according to Williams, and this is John Williams, the economist at and editor at Berkeley, California-based ShadowStats.com, he says if the methodologies of measuring inflation in 1980 had been kept intact, gold would have to hit $7,150 to be the equivalent of the 1980 record.
It's interesting. I come up with 6,700, and John and I are always close. His unemployment figure is 21.4%. Mine's 21.3%.
You know what I find amazing, Bob? Is what they, on CNBC, they're beside themselves with all the good earnings that are coming out. They actually had one guy on there today that challenged them on their good earnings theory, and that the only reason why companies are producing good earnings is because they don't have any labor costs anymore.
Why? Well, labor makes up between 70 and 75% of overhead of companies normally.
Well,
what they're doing is they're laying people off to improve the bottom line. Right. At the same time, they're using mark-to-model rather than mark-to-market on their assets. Mark-to-market is the reality of where something is trading for or a similar piece of property is sold for or whatever. Mark-to-model is marking to fantasy. It is whatever they think it is. So all of the earnings that you see coming from any corporation in America is bogus. And the FASB is changing the rules the 1st of January. And they're going to have to mark to market. And it's going to be a horror show if the FASB does not back off like they did 2 years ago. And they say they're not going to because they're losing their status as an accounting organization, worldwide for that matter. And another thing that nobody talks about is Basel III. And the Bank for International Settlements has told other member banks, you have got to stop this crap and, call your books the way they are, no matter how bad it is. Now, there's some legislation that I talk about in tomorrow's issue there's been testimony. And, of course, the Harvard types are all up there telling you that there has to be banks that are too big to fail. Brokerage houses, insurance companies, other companies that are too big to fail. We must have them. Now, if that happens, we're going to have a total fascist society. Everything will be controlled in segments, and all operations will be in unison with government. And this is what fascism is all about. And
we watched.
Go ahead, Rob.
We watched fascism on display earlier this week with the perp walk of Raj. I can't pronounce his last name. From the hedge fund. I mean, the message that was sent there, and correct me if I'm wrong, is thanks to the Patriot Act and obviously the ability of government agents now to listen at will to any telephone conversation in the country, they have now put Wall Street on notice that every single one of their conversations is being monitored by some government agency.
Absolutely correct. And whether they're guilty or not, I don't know. But more often than not, they're not guilty.
This guy's a billionaire. They're accusing him of scamming $20 million.
Maybe he did, but we don't know that yet. But they have to make it look as bad as possible to show that they're doing something about the unbelievable corruption on Wall Street. And I know that I was there for 28 years. And you don't see anybody from Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan Chase, Citigroup, Deutsche Bank, et cetera, doing any perp walks, and they are outstanding criminals.
Robbie, you mentioned
And look at the SEC. Yeah. The SEC, they only have time to chase the little guys, the small brokerage firms, the small brokers who don't have the money to defend themselves. And they read the article that just came out a couple of days ago in Rolling Stone, again by Matt
Taibbi. Yep.
I mean, I want to warn you, there's swearing in the article. Maybe it's not necessary, maybe it is. But if you read it, I want to warn you that there is swearing in there that you might not like. But I'll tell you, he lays it out, and just like I've been laying it out week after week, year after year, and I was calling in the wilderness, and now we have other people in the wilderness with me helping.